Hey everyone, my name's Matt, and I'm here to talk to you a bit about the strategy and layout of the Oasis maps, and hopefully make it easier for those of you who are not yet accustomed. It's the King of the Hill set, so as always, there's 3 maps. All of these maps share some similarities, but there's also key differences to other King of the Hill sets. Let's jump into the first map. It's a pretty cool looking map actually, lots going on with a few different entry points. The patterned area in the middle is the control point, but as you can see there's a lot of area around it, not to mention a jump pad. This jump pad is the only way for non-mobile heroes to gain access to that high ground, and this high ground is very useful for heroes that don't have the requirement of being in close quarters. An example would be Anna, or Soldier, or both really. The downside to this high ground, however, is the fact that people can actually capture the point without you seeing them. There's a blind spot behind the middle hut that makes standing on high ground useless, so it's a likely scenario that, as the fight breaks out, you'll have to jump down in order to have any impact. That being said, I'd recommend holding this high ground between fights and during the early stages, because you don't want to lose it to the other team. It's relatively easy to hold it, because it's almost like clay pigeon shooting when the enemy team uses a jump pad. Just be aware that they can pop up at any time. What about the flank routes? This is something that the whole map set has in common. There's so many flank routes. The map has a large circle going around the outside of the control point, providing flankers with the method of getting to your backline without having to go through your team. It's really important to be aware of this, regardless of your role, as losing a support player before the fight has actually begun will make that point much harder to capture. That being said, if you're playing these maps, I definitely recommend having a Tracer or Genji, as the harassment is so useful. Another thing that this map set has in common is what feels like a lack of a choke point. There is an area where you'll be likely to engage them, but there isn't somewhere that you can successfully choke them up, because they have so many other routes to get to the point. As I said before, flanker's paradise really. With that in mind, let's have a look at map 2. Map 2 feels quite a lot bigger than the first, with even more routes to take. You've got a central area in the middle with a large heal pack and a middle path, as well as a flank route to access it. This is quite interesting, as the point to capture is off to one side. This raises quite an interesting question about how best to approach taking this area. But looking down on the point, you can already see the map's high ground. As before, high ground is a place to be, both before the fight and once the fight is finished. Ideally your team will take the fastest route from spawn to access this high ground and shut the other team down. Then you can jump down and take over the point. Make sure you're aware of the other ways to access a control point though, as you might be holding the high ground unaware that someone is standing right below you. I find it interesting that this map is so large considering you don't really need all of this space. Again, it's great for flankers, but I can't imagine many teamfights taking place away from the point. Because of this large space though, you need to be very aware of a potential Tracer or Genji darting around the map. This makes it especially difficult for the support players, as there's rarely a safe place to stand without being at risk of a flanker. This is why the high ground is so important, and it's vital that you make use of it after a fight. Let's move on to the third map then. This map is like heaven for Lucio and Pharah. So many opportunities for some big boobs. You can already see the high ground area overlooking the capture point. Again, there are more areas for flankers, including an underground area, although it's not possible to capture the point from down there. Again, the high ground is so vital on this map, and reaching it first will give you a big advantage for the coming fight. I can't imagine playing this map without a Lucio, and I'd definitely consider picking Pharah, as you'll scare people away from that high ground. The team fight will likely start on the high ground, and once it's over you can jump down to the point and capture it. Once captured, reset back to the high ground again, but stick close to the window so that you're unlikely to get booped off when the next push starts. If they push straight on the point, that's fine. You can drop your tanks down for the fight and keep the DPS and the support on the high ground, preferably with Lucio keeping an eye out for anyone trying to take that ground from you. He can then just boop them off. We're looking at paradise for flankers once again. Once your team has control of the point, you can be a real pain, using the back rooms to get behind their team and take out their supports as the fight begins. On all of these maps, the ability to get the high ground first is going to be the biggest impact you can have on the map. So make sure your team has a Lucio, and like I said before, be very wary of the enemy team's flankers. We took the game into a 5th map and actually lost because we left the high ground to a Roadhog on map 3. He could just hook people one by one with no contest. It's a pretty prime example of the importance of having this high ground. This might also be a good map to have a McCree instead of a Soldier. His ability to stun the flankers could be very useful, especially if people are running a double flanker setup, which could be very lucrative here. I hope this was useful everyone. It should be enough that you won't be horrified when you see Oasis pop up in competitive. Good luck, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.